that loves me and helps me with my homework and plays with me when I'm lonely or makes me happy when I'm sad.
A man that takes care of his family, responsible, and know how to react with the family.
For him to take care of you and do everything that is right by you.
Like a person who cares and loves you.
A father is somebody that loves and protects and take care of me, and if I have any games that he come and show up.
A father to me is a person that I will look up to and that I will love. And a father would be someone who would help you and care for you and love for you. And your father will always be there for you when it's hard and when it's easy.
They told me about a father is that a father has to learn how to get delayed appreciation. Mothers get it instantly, but fathers get it when the boys become men and they realize the value of a father.
That's me, and that's also me. My name is Kenny Mofer. I grew up in South Florida, and like many black men across the country, I grew up without a father. That is just the beginning of our story, not our entire story. Because many black males across the country who grew up without a father learned to be a successful man, and more importantly, a great father. When you look at the story of men like Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron James, Barack Obama, Kevin Durant, Jay-Z, 50 Cent, Samuel L. Jackson, even the guy who's sitting next to you in class, you start to wonder, how do men who grew up without fathers become successful men? More importantly, how do they become great fathers? And yes, although mothers do have a profound impact on men becoming successful, these men have also been surrounded by other men who exemplified what it means to be a man, and more importantly, what it means to be a father. Whether it be coaches, pastors, neighbors, uncles, grandfathers, friends, they all had some sort of example on what it meant to be a father. As of today, I am not a father, but one thing I can rest assured on is that when my time do come, based on the people that I've surrounded myself with, I am going to make a great father. I created the father in me because I could not think of a stronger need for a young boy than the guidance of a man. And so what I decided to do was take the experiences and stories of this diverse group of men and highlight it in this special titled The Father in Me.
What was your first thought when you found out you were going to be a father?
Oh man, I was scared. I found out I was having a child when I was 20 years old. I was in college. Man, I was still trying to figure out life myself. And then here I was with the task of raising a child. I didn't know if it was a boy or a girl at the time, so I just say a child. But it was difficult, you know what I'm saying? Just trying to envision and encompass that responsibility that I got to take on.
I was extremely ecstatic. I was extremely happy. I always wanted to have a child. Specifically, I always wanted to have a boy. So when I found out that I was going to have a child and then it was a boy, I almost lost my mind. So, it was almost like it was something ordained that I was preparing for my entire life.
I felt really excited only because fatherhood to me really meant a new step in a different direction for me. I mean, I think when you're a lot younger, you don't really think about being a provider and all of those other things that come along with fatherhood. So for me, I was really excited that I was going to have an opportunity to be someone's father. I mean, that's a big title. So I was over the moon, excited and thrilled when I found out that I was going to be a father.
I would say it was the most amazing feeling in my life. Just getting the results, one, knowing that my wife was pregnant, and certainly when we went to find out the sex of the child and found out that I was having a boy, Mr. Elias, it was just a tremendous feeling. It's something that you think about growing up, interacting with my father, and then now you have that opportunity, but also scary at the same time because now this is your responsibility.
Ah, man, it was a shock. It was a shock. I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't married or anything like that, but it was with someone I was in a serious relationship with. So fatherhood was something I always looked forward to. So after I got over the shock, I just got, ready to be a father.
This is something I prepared for all my life. Growing up as a young man, going to school, being raised by my stepfather, being told what to do and how to do it. Growing up in the church and understanding what a father's role was. So to find out that I was going to become a father excited me because now I have a chance to work on molding a life into something that will be pretty good.
And back then, we didn't know whether you could tell the sex or not, and I didn't want to know, but on the day that Yohansé was born, it was one of the greatest feelings in the world. I was so excited. And to have a son and to be able to know that my family's name was going to continue for another generation, that was a super, super feeling for me.
Oh, that was one of the greatest feelings in the world, but the problem that you have is it happens so young. I was so young, and then it starts make you start get serious about life because you're like, okay, I had my first daughter when I was 18, so I didn't have any money. I didn't have the things that it took to become a good father, but it actually motivated me to become a good father, and I was at the University of Miami, and that was the time when I said, okay, now it's time to get serious, that I'm about to become a father.
The first feeling I can remember was fear. I'd never done anything like that before, been a part of me being responsible for somebody, the way that they live, eat, breathe, all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't mess it up.
It was shocking. It was tough for me at first, but I was pretty happy about it at first. Well, not happy at first, but it was just a situation I was in. I'm having a kid. I was like, what's next for me now? But later on, a couple weeks after that, I felt better about it. I got to do my thing now. I felt good about it. I wanted a son. End up having a daughter though, but it felt really good though at the end.
How was your relationship with your father?
My relationship with my father was non-existent because I don't know who my father actually is. I am a product of a rape. My mother was raped at 11 years old, had me at 12, and I found out how I was conceived at age 17. Never really looked for him, and never had a relationship with him. Still not looking for him 41 years later.
Well, this is a very distinguishing point. With my biological father, didn't have a real relationship. So I was raised by my stepfather, Clarence Carnes, in Daytona Beach, Florida. My relationship with him was excellent. Everything I am today I owe to him because of the time, the effort, and the energy he put into me in trying to make sure I did the right thing and had enough information so that I could make the right decisions. So my relationship with him was great. I was asked a question once in a meeting as if I had a chance to talk to one other person, no matter where that person was, dead or alive, who would it be? And would always be my stepfather, Clarence Cummings.
Well, my original relationship with my father was kind of rocky. He wasn't as affectionate. He wasn't as engaged. But as he gotten older, he's become very much engaged and very much appreciative of a lot of things that I've done. And partly his challenge was he didn't have a father raising him. So we were kind of something that was new to him, an experience that he had never had. So he kind of had on-the-job training with us. And so understanding that made a major difference when I got older to having a valued relationship. And one of the things that they told me about a father is that a father has to learn how to get delayed appreciation. Mothers get it instantly, but fathers get it when the boys become men and they realize the value of a father.
My relationship with my father was non-existent. He wasn't around at all. Didn't participate in any events in my life at all. I've been through 3 graduations and he hasn't showed up to any of them, hasn't sent a call or anything of that nature. So my relationship with my dad was completely non-existent.
My father, we have a good relationship. Probably what anybody would want from a father. You know, he taught me how to play basketball. You know, just do manly things. You know, he taught me a lot. So yeah, we got a good relationship.
It was good, but unfortunately he lived in New York and I lived in Miami, so it was a distant relationship. But we had a relationship. We went there some summers, some Christmases, so we did see him, and he was involved. So
I had an outstanding relationship with my father. That perhaps it may have been what made me feel so comfortable and so excited about being a father myself. I've been very fortunate. I had a lot of men in my life, my paternal grandfather, a lot of uncles, and so I was accustomed to the role that men should play in the life of their children, in the life of our society. And so my dad was an embodiment of that. My dad was present, was active in my life from always, not even from always. And my dad took a lot of pride in me. It took knowing what it meant to really teach me to be a man. And he did it not just by his talking, but by his actions. And so I had a wonderful role model of what a father should be.
My relationship with my father wasn't the ideal relationship. I know my father loved me. I learned implicit knowledge from him, things that I've seen him do or things that I see him do that I knew I shouldn't do, that propelled me to the person I am. My father taught me lessons through his experiences, good, bad, or indifferent. My father wasn't a father that was present, you know, like some stories that we hear. My father went away off to prison. The time when I was going off to college, he was going off to prison. And when my mother had me, my father was in jail. But when he was out, he was a good, hardworking man, but he just struggled with some demons. And I knew that. So I always respected him for being the person who he is, and him giving me life. But like any normal kid, you want your father to be there every step of the way.
What's one obstacle did you face as a father?
When you have kids and you have multiple kids, trying to find that balance between living your life and doing things to provide and also to actually enjoy your life, you have to make sure that you find time. So you have to become super organized. So I depend on my organization to make sure that I have enough time, and I set principles and I set rules that make sure that I'm going to be there. You know, if I leave home, I have to leave home with a purpose. You know, I don't leave just to leave. You know, I leave and I'm going to come back with more. You know, and that was always a rule. Like, I can't leave this house and not come back a better person or with more, being able to help the kids. So it's like, if there's a chance to go out and make a financial gain, that gives me the ability to say, okay, yeah, I can go. Other than that, I'd rather spend time with my kids.
An obstacle. I think today there are a lot of issues that a black father deals with, especially in raising a black boy child. And when my children walk out of the door, it worries me because they may not come home just because of the way that they look. And literally sitting here now thinking about it, you know, I have a 19-year-old son that I love to death and pray for him every single day, and I worry about him every day, just like my 13-year-old boy right here. You know, they are trying to find their way in life, and I'm hoping that a little of what I showed them on a day-to-day basis will assist them as they go through this walk.
I would say, as a single father, really just being a man. Like, I remember, you know, having conversations with the mother of my children and telling her, hey, if anything happens with us, I'm taking full custody of the kids. And I think just culturally, when you think about a mother versus a father is a natural and organic nurturer. So, you know, they are literally, you know, created to birth children and take care of them, you know, from the time they get here. If you look like in the school systems, the older the child is, the more you start to see men involved. The younger the child is, it's taking over. You go to a daycare, you don't see too many men there. You go to elementary school, you don't see too many men there. So I would probably say, you know, that's my biggest struggle, having to be a nurturer with my children when I'm really more of an enforcer by nature.
Well, it's some of the challenges that a parent faces is simply trying to teach them the right things in life. And there weren't as many distractions like we have today. But it was always a challenge just trying to do that which is right. And that's what I've always attempted to do. And I think when I look at Johansi, I think I've done a pretty good job, because he's an excellent father, and I admire him dearly for how he's raising his two boys.
I think that when you're raising a son, I think that, you know, it's the mother's responsibility to give him love, care, affection. Not saying that it's not the father's responsibility, but I think that a young boy needs that coming from a woman. I know having my mom throughout the course of my life really dictated that, you know, in the aspects of how I treated women, how I spoke to women. You learn that from your mother. It's reinforced through your father, but I think that having a mother there really shapes a young man's love and affection aspects.
Nah, she's been great. Like, I've never had any baby mama drama or anything like that. I think, you know, it's just the struggles of having your children half time can make it difficult to really instill in a consistent basis what you want for them. And then also knowing that they're going back and forth between two different houses just makes it more difficult to establish consistency. And, you know, you got to really do your best to be on the same page.
She helps a lot. She helps me grow. You know, I grow together. She teaches me how to be a father, you know. If something I didn't know, she'll teach me. You know, at first I didn't know how to change diapers, you know, but she taught me how to do that. Just certain things, you know, she taught me how to do a lot of things. But she's there by my side.
It's 100%. I mean, you always need that 50-50 balance. My male perspective is always completely different to the female experience or point of view that their mother has, and so I think it's a good balance to have both the male and female perspective with things. And I can give you an example. Recently, you know, I take my daughter out when we go out to the malls and so forth, and disclaimer, women's restrooms are always, the lines are so long, they're really, it's just not enough stalls for the women that want to use it. And so in situations like that, I tend to, you know, I take my daughter, you know, to the men's restroom. It just makes sense. There's not a lot of guys in there using the stalls, and a lot of times I'm like, I'll just take her real quick. And you know, my wife is always like, you know, you don't want to take her in there. She's getting a lot older now. She might see things she's not supposed to see. And I'm like, don't worry about it. We'll be in and out really quick. And we go into the restroom one time, and it's just like, totally, I don't want my daughter to see anything that's happening in this restroom right now. But, you know, my male perspective, I'm thinking, hey, I can get her in and out of this bathroom real quick. We don't have to rush. And not thinking about the things that my daughter's actually going to see when she's in a male bathroom. So things like that is what you kind of need a female to say, hey, listen, sure, that might be quick and easy, but it might have lasting impact from what she's going to see when she's in this bathroom with a bunch of men, grown men. So it's definitely important to have that balance of both mom and dad.
I think it impacts it for the better. You know, my wife and I are usually on the same page when it comes to whether it be discipline, if we need to discipline them, or if we need to have a serious conversation with our boys about something. We, you know, come together first to make sure that we're on the same page. And my wife understands, and it's, you know, probably it's, you know, kind of an unspoken understanding that there are some topics that, and some things that should just be between a father and a son. Some conversations that I need to have with them outside of her presence. And she respects that and gives me that space.
To be responsible, to do what like you're supposed to do, get good grades and stuff.
So I learned a lot of things from my dad being a father, and so I'm probably going to do the same thing when I grow up and have children, maybe have a happy life. And so what I learned was that being a father, you have to take care of your children when your mother's gone, and you have to like work and pay money for bills and take care of your family because you might be the strongest one in the house.
I like that. That's good.
If I didn't have a good father, I wouldn't be able to have food. I wouldn't be able to do stuff fun like he does for me.
To always love, no matter what, because sometimes you get mad at each other for doing things, but then like they get me right and they tell me what to do, so that I always know whenever I have a kid to know what to get them ready for and like how to act around people. to protect their family and himself, he was able to keep their family in good shape and health, and including himself. And he teaches his children, he only teaches his sons how to be a man when he becomes a father. For example, my father has taught me how to do the dishes, how to make my bed, how to ride my bike, and how to be a gentleman to the ladies.
I'd probably say humility, and I say that because we have some different personality traits, and one of them that I always try to emulate when I can, and sometimes better than others, is this humility. You'll never hear him brag about anything, an accomplishment that's been bestowed upon him, any job position that he's held, title, whether it's been his time at Lynx as their CEO to the city of Orlando. He walks in a room and treats everyone exactly the same in church and even with my friends. It's just, oh, hey, I'm Mr. Brooks, not, I'm this or that or whatever title. So I definitely say, that's probably one of the most important lessons that I'm still learning, but yeah, that he's taught me.
How did you learn to be a father?
Watching my father partly. Also, I've had friends that have dads. I have uncles, and for the most part, you could say TVs as well. But once you become a father, there's no handbook to follow. It's something that you have to sometimes learn on the fly, and other times it's just things that are second nature that you've seen. So
I think I learned to be a father actually through the absence of one. Him not being there absolutely left a void in my life as a young man growing up, and that void and hurt and pain of not having my father there really showed me what to not inflict on somebody else, and especially when I found out I was having a son. Just me understanding what I wanted, what I needed as a young boy growing to a young man, definitely shaped me and my thought process on what a good father was, and I think that's how I actually learned to be one.
I think you learn to be a father from the experiences or the people that you come across. You see people and you say, "Dang, I like how their relationship or the relationship they have is," or "I like certain things." So you just kind of find things that kind of fit you, things that you like, and things that kind of fits into who you are as a person, and you just keep adding those things. But it's one of the things, it's an ongoing thing because there's phases. You have when the kid is young, and as it grows up, then they become an adult. My daughter just turned 21, so that's another phase. That's something else. It's a new learning experience. There's always learning experience, and as a father, you always got to be willing to learn and always be willing to kind of kick it down to your kids to make sure that they're doing what you expect, or they're actually doing better.
All the things that I never had, the positive things that I saw from fathers, I tried to mimic them as best as I could, with the first one being just loving my kids, telling them I love them, hugging them, kissing them, embracing them, celebrating them for everything that they did right. And even when they did things wrong, kind of constructively teach them about the mistakes that they made, and helping them also realize that nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect by a long shot, and I don't expect them to be. And I have a lot of respect for my kids, as they have a lot of respect for me.
Oh, that's a good question, man. How did I learn how to be a father? Obviously, trial and error, because it ain't no manual. And I would probably say a lot of it from my profession. I work with youth and kids for a living, and that was really my passion because I never had that teacher or that father figure that I always wanted in my life. So I really wanted to be the change, that I wanted to see in the world. So definitely, being in the field of working with youth, definitely I think prepared me to be a father. And then I think outside of that, just my commitment I went to daddy boot camp before my children were born. And I tried to make sure I took advantage of every single thing as it related to becoming a father. I Googled so many things, talked to so many people. I never missed a doctor's visits. And I really took it seriously. And I think, they say all the time, kids spell love Time. So I just made sure that, my kids always had my time.
I would say I learned how to be a father from my father and my former pastor. I think those were important ingredients, and just other individuals who I looked up to as father figures. My neighbor who at the age of 12 let me cut his grass and taught me about stocks. I didn't appreciate it then, but most certainly do now. But they were father figures that played an important role in my life and taught me the value of fatherhood.
I learned to be a father by watching other fathers, also by growing up and imagining what you would do in certain situations. So, as experiences happen through life, you think about, well, this is how I want somebody to respond to me, and how I would like somebody to have taken me under their wing and shown me, certain things. So, my father was my first experience, obviously, and my last. So he's what I measure fatherhood by.
I learned to be a father by my father. He taught me, the things that I seen that he done for me, seen the things that he done for my siblings, my mom, just seeing what he see taught me to know what I know.
Just listening to your children. I know when I was young, my parents, you didn't talk back to your elders was kind of what I was taught. But I think as times evolved and the kids are getting more advanced with technology and social media, it's important that we take a moment, instead of being argumentative and yelling at them and trying to instill our values and thoughts on them, is to take a moment to listen to what they're saying and actually hear your kids, because believe it or not, no matter what age they are, they're being exposed to a lot of things at an earlier age. And I hate to admit it, but sometimes they know what they're talking about. Sometimes they're right.
Know that you're going to make mistakes. That's one thing that I tried to do my best to fight. But, it's a process. I've never been a dad before, and I had to come to grips with the fact that I didn't know everything. So first and foremost, just realize that, you're going to make mistakes, but don't give up, because that baby didn't ask to come here.
Man, I say be a lifelong learner. Like, you're not going to be perfect. So just get that out your head. And you're gonna make mistakes, whether you're father of the year or whether someone calls you a no good daddy. But really just commit yourself to being a lifelong learner. Sign up for text message updates, read some books, talk to some fathers who've had good situations and bad situations, and really just, commit. As long as you're there and you work through it, just don't be that father that, your kids one day can say, oh yeah, he's not in my life. Like, nobody is going to say their father was perfect, but if they know that you were always there, man, that's major.
Certainly, if I could give one piece of advice to some young men who are starting a family or who has a family, the one thing that I would tell them, and I've learned this late in life, is to raise your children having a relationship with God.
I would just say surround yourself with very positive male role models. Guys that you see they don't even have to be dads themselves. They can just be great coaches, great teachers, just great men. You want to surround yourselves with great men that understand that it does take a village to raise a child. but it also takes a village to raise villages. And in order to have very successful villages, you need to have very positive male role models. I don't feel like the problem in our society is a lack of money or resources. It's a lack of positive male role models. Wherever there are strong male role models present, things tend to be very like a well-oiled machine.
One word. I think a lot of times we overlook this word because I think particularly children, I'm gonna say teenagers, think that it's something that just pops out. And the word itself is respect. But, you know, when you learn to respect yourself, that means you love yourself. That means you take care of yourself. That means you take care of those things that are around you, which means that when you have a child and you're a brand new father and you have respect for yourself, that adds on to the part that I will be a responsible father. I will be a caring father. I will be someone that looks out for and does everything I possibly can do to make sure that child is okay. So first words, hey, learn to respect self. When you respect self, you're going to be okay.
I think, you know, one piece of advice is to always keep in mind that your children are watching your actions. So they watch how you interact with others. They watch how you interact with your spouse or you know, whoever you're in a relationship with, how you talk to that person. And so you always have to be cognizant of that. In terms of, you know, as an African American father, don't be afraid to have those hard conversations with your sons at an early age.
My advice to a first-time father would be to not be confined on age, because I know age play a lot of part in it, but if we just eliminate age from the equation, we'll just realize that your seed, although it's your DNA, they have their own personalities and they have their own growth pattern.
You know, what's next for you? You know, plan for the next step for the future. How are you gonna set yourself up for your child? That's important, because if you don't know what you're doing, that's gonna hurt you. So plan for the next step.
I think I'm going to be a great dad because I'm going to show love to my son and my daughter, and I'm going to make sure that they have what they need, and I will always protect them and know that, and I will let them know that I'm there for them.
Because I get it from my dad. I get it from my dad when he does stuff to me. It shows me what stuff to do to my kids when I grow up.
I follow the same traits as he did and be more like him, try to be better.
Because I would like everything to be good for my son.
I will be a great father because I will follow my father's steps that he taught me how to treat people and how to learn and have sense.
I'm gonna be a great dad to my kids because I'll give them what they need. I'll put a roof over their house. I'll put a roof over their heads. I'll put food on the table for them, and I will be caring for them.
Day. Happy Father's Day.
I just want to extend a special warm wish for all the fathers. Happy Father's Day.